It's a lovely good evening. Welcome to Camnet Television Main News. My name is Jeffrey Siambo to present. Our top stories in the news tonight. KALIKILIKI landlords whose shops were demolished demand compensation. The men's network calls for enhanced efforts to breaking cultural norms disadvantaging them from enjoying full human rights. Negotiations to reopen MULUNGUSHI textiles advancing well. In international news, in the Syrian war, children in RAQQA forced to work to survive. And in sports news, Camnet Stars draws with IRWIN Rangers in the First Division 2 Week 14 fixture.
In our quest to serve nations and develop Africa, Savenda is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets, housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans, all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus reliable. Savenda Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think Savenda Farms.
Christian Community Church Fundraising Dinner and Church Service. Hosts Pastor Field and Rita Ngalande. Guest speakers Pastors Victoria and Moses Chilu. Date 3rd and 4th December 2022. Venue Sally Riverside Resort in Mansa. Time dinner 19 hours to 22 hours. Church service 0930 to 12 hours. Contact us on 0978 04 2508. Take note, both events will take place at the same place.
Surround me with your grace. You surround me with your power.
Hello again, another news in detail. Owners of shops demolished in Lusaka's KALIKILIKI compound have called on the government to consider compensating them for their loss. Those spoken to have lamented that they were never notified that the shops were built on the road reserves and that they have lost their only source of income. Victoria Nkua explains that one of the shops that has been demolished belonged to her 90-year-old father who used to be his only means of survival. And Reverend Enoch Mbala says inasmuch as government wants to bring development close to the people, it should also put into consideration the needs of the people who are being affected in the process. Meanwhile, Area Member of Parliament Mike Mposha says his government will not allow illegalities and that this should serve as a warning to others. More in this report.
Several shops in Lusaka's Monali constituency allegedly built on the road reserves have been demolished to pave way for the construction of roads under the Constituency Development Fund (CDF). Earlier this month, Monali constituency Member of Parliament Mike Mposha flagged off the implementation of CDF and commencement of the construction of projects, one of which was the construction of Selected Road, a project that was awarded to the Zambian National Service. The development has, however, resulted in some people losing their businesses as several shops have been demolished in KALIKILIKI and Mtendere East to pave way for the construction of the said roads. And some business owners have lamented that they were never notified that their shops were earmarked for demolition and have since called for compensation from the government.
Walina 8 years. Walina 8. And then wane omushop ndiye mwenzo dia nokupeleka mwana mfana wanga kuyunza so kuna tandizo zati wangatitandizire kuti vangatipase kondrama zati tingamangeko futi mashopu
manje ise chamene tidandaula chifukwa ine ndine mukavwira amuna vanga nafa mu 2013 so vana vanga kulibe wamene ya support iliyonse wamene amavapunzisa ni amene ya mashopu amene amavapunzisa manje yonse sikunasale nangu imozi manjeniza chitalwani.
That has been embarked on. There was no prior notice that was given to us. And looking at things, my mom is a single parent and my dad is late. And this has only been the source of income that she has been using to feed us and also support us in areas of school. So this is a major setback and notice wasn't given to us.
And Reverend Enoch Mbala says inasmuch as government wants to bring development close to the people, development should never have a negative effect on people's sources of income.
And as much as we can appreciate what the government they are doing, they should also consider, because some parents, they are widows. Some, they just built these shops and orphans from the retiree. They are retirees. So we are appealing to the government and some stakeholders. Your Excellency, the President, Akainde Ichilema, we know that maybe you don't know what is happening here in Mtendele East. Remember the time when people, they waked up in the morning just to place you in that position you are. The same people today, they are crying.
So tufuna check population not serious.
Meanwhile, Area Member of Parliament Mike Imposha, who toured the area Saturday, has defended the exercise and its benefit to the people.
This should be a strong message. We don't take pleasure in demolishing people's structures, but again they must know that they cannot block development which is meant for more than this community has a population of over 60,000 people. So we cannot block the development which is supposed to benefit a bigger population because of one or two people who were found on the wrong side of the law. People must comply with the Town and Country Planning Act. People must build according to the permission of the local authority. So those who build shops, who build boundary walls on the road, unfortunately, there will be no compensation.
For now, these shop owners will have to look to other means of survival. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Parents in Chibombo district of Central Province residing near Liteta Basic School have called on government to consider constructing a secondary school in the area. In an interview with Camnet News, one of the parents, Chimuto Tembo, explains that the said basic school only runs from grade 1 to 9 and that it is small and cannot cater for all pupils in the area. Mr. Tembo also disclosed that the school was previously a maternity wing for Liteta Hospital. Meanwhile, a visit to the school by Camnet News revealed that most of the windows are broken while the classrooms lack school desks. More in this report.
Just like many public schools around the country, Liteta Basic School in Chibombo district of Central Province lies dilapidated with broken windows, damaged floors and broken down school desks. This school running from grade 1 to 9 is however the only hope of an education for children around Liteta village, as it is the only nearby school. Speaking to Camnet News, parents of school-going children around the area say the place also lacks a secondary school, which has resulted in many pupils dropping out of school after grade 9.
Abana besefu bene tulefu okuti bakasambirire tulefu ati abana baperera panshi balefirwa okukwanisha amaskulu twakwata abana bafuma okuheri okukwa lwimbo okuya kumapiri kudya mulesanga kwatubana tunono batulaluisha na maka okwe batikaisa ku skulu kuno okutali na makaso kusambirira lekala maboarding amwaisula bala ba forced kuingira mwisa mumayanda okulachita rentu tumayanda filafine mumishi mulya mwine nomba tatuishi befichitika kulya nesanga tumwana limbya bwera nefumu ngali panga ndalimbitete akwate efumu so besa na mafumu bengi babwera na mafumu abengi balabwera na mafumu.
We are looking forward if they can also promote a lot of buildings so that it can reach at grade 12 instead of people trying to look forward to go like other people complains about when they write the grant, because it reaches at grade 9 only. And we also have a building which it is incomplete. So it has been there for some years. So we are looking forward also if the government can see how they can help, so that they help. Not only the same building, but some more building also to be brought, so that also it can be advanced to reach maybe at grade 12.
Tatukwete skulu mu locality yesu patukulire kwe skulu batuletereko tertiary school as promised by our president.
Others feel that the school is too small to cater for all school-going children around the area.
Hii pameneze matireti wadi yenze mumanja ya Roman Catholic kudala. Ana wa skulu pa first wezopunzira ku ma leprosy patient, ma outleprosy patients. After bana wezopunzira kushimbiro ba bezobunkiyo. Then banakara panse wa community no boka, but it's better to mange maternity. Then i maternity hapa shitebwanji inkale bana wa skulu walema kubunkiyo. Manje pamene vinachitika hivyo. Na manje skulu ya tusista develop. Talema kudandala kuma MP, kuma ministers, talema kupanga maripoti kulibe. Ero ngati ndise kuno, MP chushika sanda, stimuona. Ero siri muziwa na pamenso na office yake sini ziwa. Asa meniziwa office yake. Sebe namu konkera bwela eve abana bake bakazipunzira hapa.
Calls made with the area member of parliament Chushika Sanda to determine plans for the construction of a secondary school went unresponded to by broadcast time. The parents hope that this is one of the areas earmarked for the construction of schools under the United Party for National Development UPND administration. Zipora Mshala, Camnet News, Chiwombo District.
A distressed mother of Nega Nega village in Mazabuka district of Southern Province has appealed to government to establish more recreation facilities in order to give youths an opportunity to focus on important matters than engaging in sexual activities. In an interview with Camlet News, Sharon Hangala Not-Harunem notes that if such facilities were in place, her 15-year-old daughter could not have been 4 months pregnant. She says her 15-year-old daughter was impregnated by a 19-year-old man who claimed that he wanted to marry her, but that she could not allow the marriage due to the age of the man. Meanwhile, Concerned Citizens for Justice and Human Rights Mazabuka Regional Director Dennis Mulenga says there is need to raise awareness of the negative health outcomes of child marriage and teenage pregnancy in the area, looking at the alarming numbers of teenage pregnancies. More in this report.
For many years, the country has been grappling with the unnerving problems of pregnancies among teenage girls who consequently find themselves out of school. Not too long ago, there were alarming statistics of girls who became mothers in Chipata Eastern Province. This 15-year-old girl of Nega Nega village in Mazabuka District, Southern Province, will be one of the statistics, as she has found herself in such a predicament at a tender age. Her mother cannot comprehend. She was impregnated by a 19-year-old man who has accepted the responsibility. All I can say is that there's need to have recreation facilities in this area. I think this would have prevented my daughter from getting pregnant. As you can see around, majority of girls in this area continue to fall pregnant because they do not have any other activities they can engage in. The victim herself could not say much. At first, she wanted to get married. However, going through counseling on the dangers and implications that early marriages brings, she has a change of heart. The man who impregnated her has, however, been taken to the police station, considering the fact that the victim is still a teenager.
Kwatira vanhu singa mukwatire kunga funga taka aende ku school before akasiza school ngatafu no kwatira kulira ngakwatira nanga zakanitaba.
The mother to the 19-year-old man accused of impregnating the girl says all she wants is for the victim to go back to school, and if her son wishes to marry her later on in future, he can do so, but our concentration should be on school at the moment.
My son accepted the responsibilities. He dropped out of school when he was only grade 9, but right now he wishes to go back. He wanted to marry this young girl, but we as parents, we couldn't allow it.
Meanwhile, Concerned Citizen for Justice and Human Rights, Mazabuka Regional Director Dennis Mlenga says there is need to raise awareness of the negative health outcomes of child marriage and teenage pregnancy in the area, looking at the alarming numbers of such cases.
Issues which we are receiving here, some of the major factors here is high levels of illiteracy. A lot of young girls have never gone to school in their lives, and for them, the only alternative, since they're not in school, the only alternative is to engage in illicit sexual activities. And the other major factor which is contributing to these high levels of defilement and early marriage cases is there's high level of unemployment here. There are only a few entities which employ people. So as a result, parents, they seek an alternative to marry off their young children, their children at a very tender age, as an alternative to have an income.
The high rate of teenage pregnancy in the country remains a significant concern and poses major developmental challenges. Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Civil Servants and Allied Workers Union of Zambia says the 10.5% salary increment that has been awarded to the civil servant salaries effective 1st January 2023 will be neutralized by the escalating cost of living that the country has continued to experience. In an interview with Camnet TV, Union General Secretary Makai, however, says despite the increment being overtaken by the high cost of living, it will assist in cushioning the escalated prices of goods and services. Mr. Makai says the adjustment has come at the right time when the country is struggling to address some of the economic challenges that Zambia is currently faced with.
It is true that the recently awarded 10.5% salary increment for public service workers, which will be coming into effect on 1st January 2023, will be overtaken by the skyrocketing prices and the other economic indicators. That is true. Usually, what we will see now is pronouncements have been made. One, the landlords will start adjusting their rates. The marketeers, tomato, if it was 5, tomato 10 kwacha, they will reduce, they will say 3, tomato 10 kwacha. So automatically, yes, that might be overtaken by the skyrocketing prices. But the good thing is we've seen our inflation rate has come to a single digit. But as we have gotten a salary increment, which is double digit. And what that means is therefore that the salaries, yes, or the condition, I mean the prices, yes, as much as they will go up. But the correct word which we have used is that it's a cushion. It's a cushion. Without this, it was going to be even worse. But with the increment, there will be some slight bit of cushion, meaning I will not feel pain to the extreme, but I will feel the pain, but at least there will be some cushion somewhere. So it is true that it will be affected, and this is what has always been happening. Every time there has been a salary increment, even a 4%, even a 10%, even a 5%, even a 20%, every time there's an increment, people, because the civil servants buy from these shops, civil servants buy from these markets.
Government says it is optimistic that talks with the Chinese government for the procurement of $100 million United States dollars worth of new machinery for Mulungushi Textiles will be concluded before the end of the year. In an interview, Central Province Minister Credo Nanjua says the current machinery at Mulungushi Textiles is obsolete, but says discussions between the Ministry of Defense and the Chinese government are progressing towards reopening the factory. He has disclosed that the two partners have concluded talks and agreed on the joint venture project that will absolutely replace the worn-out machinery. Mr. Nanjua has disclosed that the provincial administration has revealed that the factory will create an estimated 2,500 jobs.
We do not want to use Mulungushi Textile as a carrot to dangle to the electorate. Government is committed to opening Mulungushi Textile, and discussions have been going on. The issue is that these partners have to agree, because what is at Mulungushi Textile is that the machinery which is there is obsolete. It needs to be replaced. And when we came into office, we put up this matter as provincial administration with the Ministry of Defense, who have been engaging with the Ministry of, with the government of China. So There is progress. I can assure that there is progress. The time frame that we were given last year was 2022, that everything would be concluded. And we are still hoping and hopeful that discussions could be concluded so that the shipment of that equipment, which is about $100 million.
Chiwombo District Commissioner Lloyd Kayeka says there is a need for various stakeholders to enhance efforts aimed at breaking down cultural and social norms that prevent men and boys in the country from enjoying their human rights. Speaking during the first ever commemoration of International Men's Day to be celebrated in Zambia, Mr. Kayeka notes that matters such as gender-based violence, GBV reporting among men have remained relatively low in comparison to women. He has further encouraged more men and boys to participate in next year's commemoration, noting that this day is important for exchanging information on GBV, alcohol abuse, as well as discussion relating to sexual reproductive health. More in this report.
Gender disaggregated data for the third quarter from the Zambia police indicates that 5,043 women are victims of gender-based violence GBV compared to 1,646 men. While some stakeholders say such statistics indicate that more women are victims of GBV in comparison to men, others argue that the number of male GBV victims is unknown, as most of them shun away from reporting due to embarrassment, as well as due to social and cultural norms that prohibit them from doing so. Zambia has in 2022 for the first time joined the rest of the world in commemorating International Men's Day, which falls on 19th November every year, with the first commemoration being held in Chiwombo District on Saturday under the theme Helping Men and Boys to Enhance Their Health and Well-Being. Chiwombo District Commissioner Lloyd Kayeka graced the occasion.
Really, do men, when they are in such spaces, discuss men's challenges such as male sexuality, relationships, marital disputes, and extra. If men start talking about issues in these spaces, they are often valued as weak men by their peers.
Meanwhile, Zambia Men's Network for Gender and Development National Coordinator Nelson Banda says the event will lead to an exchange of useful ideas for men, boys, and relevant stakeholders.
You know, the activities of the International Men's Day were not part of the commemorating, and this activity will also will also filter into the 16 days of activism, which will be launched next week.
Participants from around Chiwombo District say the commemoration has given them more confidence to report issues of gender-based violence and other human rights violations.
Even men, we have our own day to celebrate. Yeah, and today I'm just happy that we have been given the right as in to be reporting some cases, because previously we never knew that we are being abused.
While stakeholders who were present feel that few men and boys attended the first commemoration in Zambia, it is hoped that more will turn out at such future gatherings following enhanced sensitization from relevant parties so that they can learn about their rights. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Chiwombo District.
The Citizens First Party President Harry Kalaba has urged the government to address the serious concerns raised by the Catholic Church on the mismanagement of the agriculture sector and other national issues in the interest of the nation. Mr. Kalaba was reacting to a letter issued by Zambia Council of Catholic Bishops ZCCB Friday, in which it raised a number of concerns and urged the government to address them as soon as possible. The CP president says the agriculture sector is critical and it is important for the government to ensure inputs reach farmers in good time for them to produce enough for the nation. Mr. Kalaba further says government should respond to the issues of human rights and the fight against corruption.
What is happening in our country today?
when you look at the issue, for instance, of agriculture, the late delivery of inputs, I think the bishops have clearly elucidated that it is important for the farming inputs to reach the farmers early. This is November, and our farmers have not yet received fertilizer. I think it is important for government to adhere to the call by our bishops that fertilizer must reach our farmers in order to promote food security. Most of our people basically rely on farming to emancipate themselves and their families. And so the call by the bishops could not have come at a timely time such as this, to ensure that our farmers receive their fertilizer. We also want to thank the bishops for also bringing to light the issues of the Constituency Development Fund and the need for people to easily access the CDF, to reduce on the bureaucracy of the CDF. And that the monies, as gigantic as they might be, we need these monies to begin reaching the downtrodden, the poorest of the poor. Because I think the job of any government in the world is basically to ensure that the resources reach those that are struggling. And we hope and believe that the CDF fund is basically meant for that.
Leadership Movement President Richard Silumbe has maintained that Republican President Hakainde Hichilema is being controlled by Western powers. Addressing the media in Lusaka Saturday, Mr. Silumbe says it is worrisome to note how President Hakainde Hichilema and his administration are embracing policy advice from foreign experts, thus making them a puppet of the West. Mr. Silumbe has also advised the ruling party to stop accusing the opposition Patriotic Front Party of sabotaging their plans to run the affairs of the nation. He reiterates that both the opposition PF and the ruling UPND are doing cross-pollination politics. More in this report.
More criticism from the opposition are yet to come. The United Party for National Development Administration, which has been in office for a year plus, has not seen it easy, as different opposition political parties have come out strong, accusing them of formulating policies that are inimical to the interests of the poor citizens. Opposition president of the leadership movement, in his address to the media this morning, Saturday the 19th of November 2022, says Republican President Hakainde Hichilema and his administration have made a U-turn from their earlier campaign promises while in opposition to support the agriculture and mining sector.
See a foreign country, company, to go and audit the American Defense Force, or the Russian Defense Force, or the Israeli Defense Force, or any country that calls itself independent and it wants to control its fate as a country. So where you see such things is only in puppets that do not believe in themselves, that think that they have nothing to secure for. These are the sentiments that you get from such people. Look at the issue of fertilizer, for instance. People justify, it's okay, we waste time producing fertilizer, it's easier to go and import somewhere else. It's because you have no interest in nurturing your own economy. You have totally no confidence.
The party, like other opposition political parties, have raised concern on the issue of private firms auditing the country's defense force. They is expressing disappointment on the move taken by government to contract a foreign auditing entity to audit the country's defense force. The party has also accused the UPND administration of trying to enrich themselves. Leadership Movement Party has, however, called on the UPND administration not to demean the opposition political parties which are there to provide checks and balances, adding that the Patriotic Front is not the only opposition political party the country has.
They defeated in 2021, and they are just seeing PF. They are not seeing any other opposition. They cannot listen to anybody because in their mind, they think that there is only PF, and that's the opposition they are talking about. I'm sure they are not even referring to leadership movement when they talk about the opposition, because this is the term that has been assumed by the New Dawn government and its minions to demean the opposition as a bunch of opposition that has been defeated and it has no ideas and there's nothing they can offer to this country. But we know that that is a kind of mindset that thinks that they are on top and they cannot listen to anybody.
Meanwhile, on Friday, the head of state reaffirmed his government's commitment in addressing the needs of the majority citizens.
Vision is not to play with words. We say it in words to make people know what we intend to do. But behind the words is to deliver, like we've done today, like we've done for free education, SYRIA, like we've done for meal allowances for students. It was like words, but now the meal allowances are there. So this is really the way we work. This is how we place our vision as a government. That's why we sought public office. No other reason but to do things like this. We are men and women on a mission to make this country better.
Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
You're watching Camnet Television News. We'll take a break. We'll be back with more news after the break.
From time immemorial, we have had different types of lighting options, from those that can burn down our investments in minutes to those that dig holes in our pockets due to constant replacement and huge consumption of our ZESCO units. Savenda Electric introduces the new and advanced electric bulb with cutting-edge technology of LED that has low power consumption, gives out bright white light, and lasts up to 25,000 hours. Savenda Electric manufactures all types of LED light like plastic LED fluorescent tubes, down lights, ceiling lights, outdoor fittings, and solar street lights made to customer specifications. Let's live on the bright side of life by choosing the wide range of Savenda electric lighting solutions that are available in all leading stores and supermarkets countrywide. For orders, call 0962-642-490 or email jnbunda@savenda.com or pchabula@savenda.com.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes, and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Good news, the rains have started. You need to plan your future. Generation Wealth is the way to go. House-grafted avocado plants fruiting within 2 to 3 years for sale at only 90 kwacha each, and ordinary avocados at only 45 kwacha each. Contact us on 0979 753010 or 0962 965 883. We are open from 8 hours to 17 hours, Monday to Friday, at Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill, opposite Hilltop Hospital.
Welcome back. The National Union of Public and Private Educators of Zambia, NUPEZ, has urged teachers across the country to act as role models for pupils by exhibiting high levels of professionalism. Speaking to Camnet News, NUPEZ General Secretary Nelson Mwale says the recent suspension of teachers from Mpongwe and Chilanga districts for their involvement in examination malpractices should serve as a warning for would-be offenders. He has further commended the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, for being alert, stating that the credibility of examinations should not be compromised. Grade 9 and 12 pupils are currently sitting for their final examinations.
We regret the involvement of about 11 of our teachers, both in Pongo and Chilanga, in malpractice activities. I think we've been on record appealing for ethical conduct on our teachers during the administration of the exams. But we must make a mention that whatever happened is not, a replica of the rest of the teachers. The rest of the teachers are conducting exams very, very well. And they will not sit, as a teacher representative, institution and watch morals decay of our educators. And so we want to make a mention that the provisions of the law are clear. And whoever misconducts him or herself during exams, the law must be allowed to stand as a teacher because of a 150, of a 200, of a 250, and yet you are a role model. And so what we are saying is we applaud the examination class of Zambia for their vigilance in the whole exercise, and so we are saying the law will be allowed to take its course, because at the end of the day, teachers must uphold morality, teachers must uphold ethical conduct in whatever they do.
The National Water Supply and Sanitation, NWASCO, has called for enhanced collaboration among stakeholders to ensure that sanitation systems are safely managed in order to protect groundwater, which accounts for the majority of liquid fresh water on Earth. NWASCO Director, Engineer Kelvin Chitumbo, says poor construction and mismanagement of sanitation systems is detrimental to communities, as this leads to pollution of underground water, which is one of the sources of drinking water, resulting in waterborne diseases. The director says that since the launch of the Urban On-Site Sanitation Framework in 2018, the sector has made substantial strides in increasing access to sanitation, which in turn propels the country to achieving Sustainable Development Goal number 6, Zambia Vision 2030, and the 8th National Development Plan, NDP. Engineer Chitumbo said this in commemoration of the World Toilet Day, which falls on the 19th of November each year, and is this year being held under the theme, Making the Invisible Visible.
I wish to call for enhanced collaboration among all stakeholders to ensure that sanitation systems are safely managed. In order to protect management of sanitation systems is detrimental to communities, as this leads to pollution of underground water, which is one of the sources of drinking water, resulting in waterborne diseases. Since the launch of the on-site sanitation framework in 2018, the sector has made substantial strides in increasing access to sanitation, which in turn propels the country to achieving Sustainable Development Goals, Zambia Vision 2030, and the 8th National Development Plan. The 2021 National Urban Water and Peri-Urban Water Supply and Sanitation Report shows that the national average sanitation coverage for urban areas has increased from 69.6% in 2020 to 71.5% in 2022, which translates into 315,000 more people accessing safe and adequate sanitation.
Chasefu District Commissioner Lufeyo Ngoma is saddened by an incident in which a 13-year-old girl was defiled by 6 men at a nightclub in a Musa trading area. Zanis reports that Mr. Ngoma says 6 men of unknown age took turns to defile the girl, who is in primary school. The district commissioner says action should be taken against the defilers, and that he also wants action taken against the nightclub that is admitting young girls below the age of 18 to patronize the area and engage in sex. Mr. Ngoma also disclosed that the nightclub is now a brothel, as women from a neighboring country have camped there for commercial sex. He has questioned why the town council issued a license to a nightclub that is a nuisance in the new district. Mr. Ngoma has since directed the police to work in partnership with the local authority to intensify night patrols and arrest the minors that will be found wanting. Meanwhile, the Chasefu District Commissioner has warned of stern action against government heads of departments who are absconding meetings meant for the development of the district. Mr. Ngoma said the trend of staying away from important meeting is retrogressive to the development of the district. He was speaking during a senior management meeting held at Emusa Secondary School on Friday. Economist Kelvin Chisanga says the monetary policy rate is likely to be increased at the next policy rate announcement next week. Mr. Chisanga says this will take into consideration the current situation on the ground with considerable factors and also considering many other dynamics at play on the prevailing patterns of growth that the country has seen so far. He says the hike is in order to help counterbalance the effects seen from the global market patterns with the aim to contrast it with the stimulus 2023 national budget. He, however, says it is also inevitable to see the policy rate being maintained with some few considerations.
Obviously, we know that come next week, Wednesday, we should be able to hear where we are standing as a nation in terms of how we're going to work it out in terms of the policy rate. And we know for sure that when we look at the aspect of the policy rate, we are expecting only two things to happen there. Obviously, we know that for some time the policy rate has actually been maintained, obviously because of the good effect that it was giving. But now, considering what has happened right now, we are likely to see that the mounted policy rate can actually set up with a small fraction of a basis point of about maybe 25% or up to somewhere maximum of about 50%. Obviously, we are looking at what has actually been happening in the economy, and much more what we are also seeing as a key element in this case. The next year's budget seems to be an expansionary budget, of which we know that the policy rate cannot work in a positive direction, considering that the budget has actually been expansionary. So we expect it to be having a bit of element where it's going to be contractionally on the function.
This is Camnet Television News. We'll take a second and final break. We'll be back with more news after the break.
You know I can take her a bit.
Yes, my dear.
I was thinking of getting you a Bugatti on your birthday.
Really?
I'm quiet. My name is Yana.
Don't worry, my dear. That's why there is insurance.
Insurance?
You heard me.
Not just any kind of insurance, but Savenda General Insurance, a company that offers superior customer service, highly professional and dedicated staff. We are not just any insurance company, but an insurance company that actually pays our claims. We cover, among others, fire, marine, aviation, engineering, agriculture, motor vehicle, and miscellaneous insurance. So, live life to the full, knowing that Savenda General Insurance has got you covered. Savenda General Insurance. Insurance excellence.
Cabbages, onions, maize, potatoes, tomatoes, chilies. At Raingrow, we supply great quality irrigation for the mentioned crops and more at an affordable price. Get our 2,000 meter flat drip for as low as 2,900 kwacha, or our 500 meter round hose for 1,300 kwacha. Customize your own spacing with our 500 meter blank round hose going for 1,200 kwacha, ideal for orchards such as avocado, mango, banana, oranges, etc. Rainglow Irrigation, best quality, best price.
In international news tonight, after years of conflict, families in Syria are struggling to send their children to school. Many young people have to find work to support their households, and the pandemic made the situation worse. Child labor has dramatically increased in the city of RAQQA as families struggle to put food on the table. For more in international news, here's a roundup.
Nearly 12 years into the Syrian war, child labor has dramatically increased in northern city of Raqqa and elsewhere, with children working long hours in difficult conditions. For many boys, education is a luxury because they have to find work to provide for their family. Many of their fathers have been arrested or killed during the war. Yaqub Al-Hamad is 16, but he's been working in this mechanic shop for 8 years. He says it was not easy to make the decision to drop out of school, but it was necessary.
Because of the war, we couldn't learn anything in school. So I've learned this job as a mechanic. It's better than wasting my time.
Several schools in Raqqa were damaged or destroyed during the fight against ISIL. More than 70% of them are still in the same condition, according to the NGOs. 13-year-old Muhammad has worked as a street vendor for 3 years. He would rather study, but he must support his family because the cost of living is rising by the day.
It's difficult to work outside when it's cold, and I can't even push this trolley in some places. We can't afford school, even with this job. It's barely enough to buy bread.
Abu Al-Qasim is the father of 3 boys and a girl. All of his sons have to work despite their young age.
Study is better for the kids, but unfortunately we don't have good education. It's useless. So I decided to send my son to learn a profession, which will help him earn money at least.
Syria has seen a lot in the past decade. In its struggling city of Raqqa, a generation of kids now risk being lost, forced to choose between going to school or finding work as a matter of survival. Sinem Kesolo, Al Jazeera.
Hundreds of journalists, campaigners and political activists took to the streets of Dhaka on Friday to demand the release of a Senegalese journalist and government critic arrested earlier this month. Representatives of journalists' unions marched along the boulevard near the city centre, chanting "Free Pape Alé Niang" and protesting at other detentions. The convention with other organisations we mobilised this afternoon to demand his release, he says. Pape Alé Niang's place is not in prison, but in the newsroom. That is why we will lead the fight. We're going to fight for the release of our colleague Pape Alé Niang, who has only done a service to Senegalese democracy. Pape Alé Niang runs the online news website Dhaka Matin and has been critical of President Macky Sall's government. He was arrested on November the 6th and charged 3 days later with a number of offences, including spreading false news.
We have also made it known to the state of Senegal, to the Senegalese government, that it was out of the question that in 2022 there are still Senegalese journalists precisely who are imprisoned for press offences. We want this to stop, and we ask the state of Senegal, we ask mainly our leaders to release all hostages, including Pape Alé Niang, who was detained for press offences.
Niang's detention has sparked a wave of criticism from the press and civil society against the Senegalese president. It comes as this year's World Press Freedom Index ranked Senegal down 24 places from last year.
Fame, disgrace, now prison. Formerly high-flying tech entrepreneur Elizabeth Holmes was sentenced to 11.25 years in federal prison on Friday. Holmes was convicted of fraud and conspiracy in January. In pronouncing sentence, Judge Edward Davila said, "This is sad because Ms. Holmes is brilliant. Failure is normal, but failure by fraud is not okay." Prosecutors had asked for 15 years in prison. Holmes's lawyers asked for a much lighter sentence of 18 months of home confinement. Before sentencing, Holmes apologized, saying she was devastated and full of regret. The 38-year-old has one small child and is expecting another baby. Holmes founded Theranos, a Silicon Valley startup that claimed to have perfected technology that could diagnose a multitude of diseases with a single drop of blood. But the technology never worked, a fact Holmes kept secret from wealthy investors like Fox owner Rupert Murdoch and Oracle's Larry Ellison. Holmes had a persuasive ability and was able to recruit figures like former U.S. Secretaries of State Henry Kissinger and George Shultz to sit on Theranos' board. Digging by investigative journalists eventually revealed Theranos' fakery, and the whole edifice collapsed 4 years ago. Prosecutors also asked for hundreds of millions of dollars in restitution, but the judge deferred a decision on that till later. At the height of her fame, Holmes's company was worth $9 billion. She hobnobbed with politicians, celebrities, and billionaires, and the media treated her to numerous adoring articles. Now it appears she will be spending time behind bars, although she's likely to appeal her sentence. Rob Reynolds, Al Jazeera, Los Angeles.
It's now time for sports news. Camnet Stars have drawn with IRWIN Rangers in a match played Saturday at Kabulonga Boys Ground in the FAS Division 2 Week 14 fixture. The first half ended 0-0, and in the second half saw IRWIN Rangers open the scoreline before Camnet Stars equalized. And Camnet Stars assistant coach Fudes Musonda says his team missed many clear-cut chances, which if utilized would have seen the team take the day.
Okay, after we had scored, we lacked a bit of concentration, especially in the midfield. I think you saw what happened. Our midfielders, they were a bit shaky. As a result, we lost the whole game during that time when they scored us, just from the midfield itself. Otherwise, it was actually a tough game for us.
This game, it was a very tough game. Our opponent had, obviously they had prepared tough, and it was tough even for us to penetrate through them. We had a chance to score them a goal, but despite due to challenges and the situation of the game, they scored us as well. As in, like, for now, we are just preparing for the next game next week.
We played well in the first half, and our strategy was to score as quickly as possible in the first half. And if you could see, we had the clear four chances, which we could have buried, but our players were not at hand to finish all those clear chances, which was very, very unfortunate. Sometimes in football, if you don't score your chances, then you'll be hammered with a sucker punch. Second half, we came, and unfortunately again we allowed a goal. That gave us another happy battle to equalize and then get another goal for a clincher, which was very, very difficult for our boys. And it was only 20 minutes to go, but lucky enough we equalized. But again, we had also other chances in the second half which would have buried again. Again, I think up front we are not very sharp to get goals for the team. But all in all, it was good. The boys, they came back from being down 1-0. 1-1, a point is important because it will matter in the near future. And I think we should go back again to the drawing board and make sure that we organize our team and play well. Unfortunately, our midfield didn't trick. When you look at Felix wasn't playing so well, that's our matchmaker. If he doesn't play well, then it's very difficult for the team to win. So we need to work on the midfield so that we can have good cooperation between midfield players and strikers who can be able to finish all the chances. Otherwise, it was a good game in the first half. The second half, it came with a system because we are now under pressure, wanted to score and win the match.
That soccer note brings us to the end of the news. But before we go, the headlines once again. KALIKILIKI landlords whose shops demolished demand compensation. The men's network calls for enhanced efforts to breaking cultural norms disadvantaging them from enjoying full human rights. Negotiations to reopen Mulungushi Textiles advancing well. In international news, in Syria, war children in RAQQA forced to work to survive. And in sports news, Camnet Stars draws with IRWIN Rangers in the FAS Division 2 Week 14 fixture. Our comment verse of the day is coming from Luke 6, verse 27 to 28, But I say to you who listen, love your enemies, do what is good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. Thank you once again for watching Camnet Television News. I'm Jeffrey Ziambo. Good night.